Hello, everybody. Welcome to Marketing Table Talk, where industry experts share their view on how your brand can stand out and thrive in today's marketplace. I am Lisa Perry, a global brand marketing executive. I help companies achieve brand transformation, and I am your host. Today, we're going to talk about amplifying your brand through an integrated PR and marketing strategy. And I am super excited to have my guest today. She is a PR expert, and I have been following her for so long, and she finally agreed to be on the show today. She is Lindsay Scheidell, the founder of Hadley PR, an integrated communications consulting firm. They have earned acclaim from Time Magazine, The Today Show, NPR, just to name a few. So, without further ado, welcome to the show, Lindsay.
Hi, thanks, Lisa, and hi, everyone else. Thank you for inviting me. And it
Yeah.
didn't take that long for you to get me on. I've probably been following you, Lisa, longer than you've been following me.
Well, we're gonna have an amazing conversation today. And before we dive in, I'd love for the audience to just chat, put your name in, tell us where you're from. We can't wait to hear about that, and then put your questions in the comments. We will get to them today because this is going to be a hot topic, and so let's dive in because I have been waiting to ask you this first question. What are the potential consequences that businesses can expect when they don't prioritize an integrated PR and marketing approach?
Such a good question. And it's probably the question that stirs a lot of our clients to come to Hadley because what they've been doing, whether it's in their Marcom approach or, more of a public affairs division approach, and when it's not working, they're kind of trying to figure out why. We're planning, we're strategizing. And I often ask first, where's the bigger plan? And is PR integrated into what marketing's doing? Is marketing sharing goals and KPIs alongside PR? And does that feed into this bigger, overall business plan? Most of the time, it's not. They're siloed. And, when we come in then, I'm able to pick up things when you think about, what are they going to expect if they're not doing this? I'm seeing it right away when I come into those first meetings. There's a ton of mixed messages out there. No one's saying the same thing. Not that it always has to be the same, but we should be aligned, right, with what our audiences are wanting from us and expecting. But instead, the audiences are confused. They don't know what to do with, the message that's been delivered from the marketing end when PR's over here talking about, maybe sometimes even contrary to that, which causes some crisis communication blunders and stuff we don't want to do. A lot of times, brands will come and they'll say, I just feel like people don't understand who we are. They don't understand what we do. We can go back and see, was that because, teams that are out there living and breathing who you are as a brand, are they not sharing what that identity looks like to those audiences? Most of the time they're not. And it's because they're worked in these silos. Then we come in, folks, don't have a lot of trust in a brand. Maybe there's some negative publicity that's come from that. And, they've said, hey, Lindsay at Hadley, can you come over and help us? We're not getting any good publicity. Or the stuff we are getting is always kind of this hate. And we can go back and say, well, what are the things that are working and aren't? In terms of how marketing and PR are working together. And can we fix that? The biggest thing probably that might surprise companies when we work with them is I'll ask the questions, what's customer sales look like? Are they slowing? Are they declining? Sure, people don't always think of PR to push sales, but heck, if we're out there, building trust and building that loyalty, guess what happens? People are going to be more likely to want to purchase your product, partner with you, become a stakeholder to your organization. So those are kind of the key ones. The biggest one that I always want to say, because we know that communication is key in any business, right? No matter what industry you're doing. When marketing and comms folks, we should be the best communicators. So we should be communicating with other groups inside the organization. So when we're not doing that, we're just displaying kind of this poor attitude of teamwork among disciplines, when really we should be executing goals and, setting KPIs together.
Oh, I just love what you just said about the last one. I think you just hit it right home, the poor example of teamwork. But you gave us some real nuggets there, right? Mixed messages. You're communicating mixed messages between the organization and to your customers, audience leading to audience confusion, brand confusion, negative publicity, lack of brand trust. All of that is not a good combination for the brand credibility and trustworthiness. All of that is not a good approach out there. People pay attention.
And the thing is, we can turn that around.
Right.
We can turn that around by just simply integrating better.
Well, and so then let's talk about that. What are some key strategies then to for businesses to adopt to foster a more unified marketing and PR approach?
Yeah. And anyone who's listening, I'm hoping there's, just as many PR folks on here as there are marketing. And we're all fighting for those dollars and support from leadership, right? But when we can go in together and approach leadership and ask for support and resource allocation to actually work together, not just to meet PR goals or marketing goals, but to set some goals together, we've lifted, we've gone next level. Okay. So, work on getting, strategies that involve leadership support. And, there's a separate budget for how marketing and comms can work together, not our own. Again, goes back to what we talked about a little bit earlier. Communication is key. We should be the best communicators internally as well. So that means we should be having regular meetings and these collaborative planning sessions among each other. And I don't mean like once a year. I'm telling my clients, we should be meeting with marketing once a month just to check in. No one wants another meeting, but figure out a way to do it. Spend 15 minutes to just say, hey, how are things going? What are you guys noticing? What are you seeing? Or maybe it's just a quick email share update, but make sure they're regular. Again, I talked about it a little bit earlier, making sure we have those shared goals. One thing I think that's helped when it comes to making sure that there's clear messaging is coming up with, PR is really good at what we call like this content calendar, kind of what's our editorial calendar of messages for the year look like. We're going to share it with social. We're going to share it maybe even with HR if they're in a recruiting phase. What's PR's message right now that we're out delivering? Hopefully it's a more of a proactive approach, not always reactive. But where is that content calendar of messaging aligned with what marketing and sales is doing as well?
Right.
I don't think that that's always there. We kind of live in our own calendar, but really we shouldn't. We should be aligning messages, and they can differ. They can look different. They can sound a little bit different, but it's call to action the same. Without it, we again get that mixed messages, that disloyal, the hard to earn trust.
Right. And as you were talking about, going in together and asking for that aligned strategy and aligned budget, what's the worst is when leadership is saying to you, marketing and PR, hey, are you guys talking? You guys should be talking. It should come from marketing and PR, as you said, going in and saying, hey, we've chatted. Here's our aligned strategy and approach. Here's our aligned budget. Here's our aligned content calendar. We're pushing this out to the organization. To your point, it says a clear message that we've got this. We're communicating. We're talking. And we've got this handled, and we know what we're doing, instead of it coming from the top, which is not a good look.
And as you're saying that, Lisa, I'm just thinking about, one activity. I should have, mentioned this earlier when that second question you asked about what can teams do. Sometimes we need to go back to the basics when we're starting out to integrate together. And sometimes that just involves like some education, some like shared team understanding of what each other's roles are. Some people have a lot of misconceptions about what PR is. Are you just out there to get the cover of Time magazine? No, we want to like foster relationships and build these stakeholder communities so that when marketing goes out, spends their big dollars that we wish we had on advertising and digital media and promotions and whatnot, it sits, it resonates, it sits, you know, in a way that people want to take some immediate action. And we know our marketing friends want to see that because that's where their goals and their KPIs sit, right? They have those great measurements. PR doesn't always have that. But we can prove our worth when marketing's KPIs drive up when we can show we're working together.
Right. And as I think about when you're talking, it's great if a business can create this culture that you're talking about, but if it's not being created, the marketing and PR can create this. They can drive this, right?
Right.
Right.
And
And you were talking about
we
the
just have
meeting.
to.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sometimes we just have to. We have to be kind of the loudmouth in the room. I'm not a big one to always be the one that has to have the loudest voice, but when it comes to integrating our work, we do kind of get left behind, or we're those fixers, the reactive approach to things. Call marketing, call PR, get them. No, we can prevent a lot of those reactive occurrences from ever even happening by just working together and having everyone the shared understanding of what everyone's role is.
And it's as simple as just saying, hey, I'd like you to attend a meeting, or hey, here's what I'm doing. Let me share with you, and not guarding things, not being so protective. Like, hey, here's what, being transparent. Here's
Right.
what we got going on. Letting your guard down, right? As you were saying. So you were talking about, when KPIs go up. So that leads me to, measuring business success of an integrated approach. So can you talk about what that looks like?
Yes, because as we all know, especially for the PR folks on the call, and Lisa, I know you've worked in PR as well in your career, so damn hard to measure PR at times, right? We don't have those, quantitative measurements like website traffic or conversion rates, or we can work off of them and hope that what we're doing is supporting it. But PR is always depending on like tough stuff that takes a long time to measure. So I'm thinking that, share of voice and, even social media engagement, it takes a long time to build community. We can push a brand survey out as much as we want, but does that really show us it shows us where people are in the moment? That doesn't show us that long-term value of PR. But if we can start going into that end of year planning for, the following year, setting measurable goals aligned with business objectives that hold both marketing and PR responsible. Okay. So let's talk for a minute about, marketing and sales is looking at website traffic and conversion rates. What can PR do to keep boosting that? Can we build a really dynamite newsroom on our website where, we're owning our own news. We're creating a news channel that is bringing more people to the website. And we know when they're there, if that website looks good, because marketing's done their job, maybe someone's going to dink around and go to other pages and find something like a product or read a testimonial that PR has gathered and put together about a customer experience. So setting some clear, measurable goals that are aligned with business objectives that marketing and PR are both responsible for are going to help, because we know PR is hard to measure. It's not as easy to measure in terms of time frame like marketing is, or with numbers. But if we can start showing we're working together and marketing is showing some increases in what the things they can measure, we know it's working.
Yeah, and I like the testimonials, right? Those are things that are measurable. Media mentions, right? Those are things that are, so you can find stakes in the ground to measure, as you mentioned. It's not impossible, right? So,
But I never want to go into any type of PR campaign and say, we're going to know in 30 days if this is working, because chances are we're not. I mean, it could take 6 months. It could take 12 months. I've worked on pitch campaigns that, we haven't landed anything for 8 months. And then all of a sudden, you mentioned earlier, the Today Show calls, they remember, we've been working it for months and finally we get it. And it's beautiful. So it's tough to put that measurement on PR. We can always do our best to set goals, though, that are aligned with, objectives that are measurable, and see if that's helping.
Yeah. Consumer preferences and behaviors, they're changing all the time. And so can you recommend for businesses out there how to adapt their PR and marketing strategies to these changing consumer preferences and behaviors?
Right. That's so important, especially for teams maybe that you're listening. You don't have a PR kind of side to what you're doing. Who's listening? Who who is the active listener for your organization? Marketing, they have to listen, but they're probably listening to specific things. Think about like a focus group. If marketing leads a focus group, which we need them to do still, I'm not discounting it. What types of questions are they typically asking? About products, right? Services. PR comes into the picture. We infuse some more PR related questions that are more about like, how do you feel, when you see this brand versus this brand? What types of, characteristics do you look for in an organization that builds trust? Marketing doesn't always ask those questions because, let's face it, their job is to sell product, build awareness for that product. Whereas PRs out here, we're really kind of trying to be this psychotherapist for the group, if you will. What are people feeling? What are they thinking? What are they taking away that we can now, as we're listening so closely, share it with everyone who's out there to build, their moves stronger. So when we're looking at, social listening, for example, or monitoring trends or conversations that we see our community having, it's our responsibility, as PR folks to share that, but also the social media folks need to be sharing that with marketing. Is it a monthly report that says, here's the behaviors and, this is what our community is telling us they want from us? One group that does that really well, I'm not sure, I'm an 80s kid, so like I remember the whole Warheads candy. I think about, they do a really good job listening to their communities, specifically online communities, in figuring out what it is they want. And here you think it's a candy brand marketing to kids. It's not. It's marketing to like those 80s kids who are now parents. And, they're thinking about that nostalgic experience of shoving a Warhead sour candy in their mouth. And they're like, I want my kid to have that. But they keep speaking and listening to the right people. And that's helping their marketing. That's helping their brand.
Yeah, those are some great suggestions. Because it's so constantly changing and you have to interact with the consumer and get their constant feedback. So I appreciate that. Some businesses out there, money is tight. So what are some cost-effective PR and marketing tactics that businesses can implement?
I just mentioned one. It was a really good example, leveraging your social media, looking at organic engagement. Sure, are you going to have to pay some time for someone on your team to go through? And, we have great tools now, like especially like with AI mixed in, we can put in comments and conversations and ask them to pull out key trends. So it's not the person, like I was in the early 2000s that was scrolling every Facebook comment and creating a graph of, these were some trending conversations or whatnot. So leverage your social media, see what people are saying. You don't have to invest anything but time into that. Utilize those outward kind of legs that you already have in place. So those blogs, videos, infographics, what are you already using to do that with? Partner, obviously I'm going to wave my hand big when I think about, how are you using your media friends and your influencers? Do you have that stakeholder list? Use it, figure out ways to have an in-kind partnership with someone that's, reciprocated back and forth between the two of you. So you're not spending, someone just told me the other day, they were spending like $40,000 on this newsletter mention. And I thought, it was like, what are you getting out of that? well, a lot of the people that we sell to read this newsletter. And I said, do you know that? Because for $40,000, wow, you could, hire a team of social media interns and really get a good listen of who your audience is and what it is they're saying, they're seeing, and where they're getting their information from.
Right, right.
So be smart with your spending too. I feel like there's so much wasteful spending in marketing that they've just put a little bit more of that back into the people, to do listening, it would be way more worth their value.
And what if they were to prioritize like a few cost-effective tactics to implement right out the gate? What would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, think about like your community events. Easy things to do. Sponsorships. You're going to sponsor something that's important. Obviously, it should align with your brand and who you are and what you represent and speak to your audience. But maybe there's some regional sponsorships, an event or something. For example, maybe your healthcare company that's focused on kids' health. Is there something, in your region I'm here in the Midwest. Is there something in Chicago here that's happening this summer where you could get out in front of people? And it's just simply through a sponsorship. Now, I don't think you need to just throw money at things to have your logo on stuff. You need to be an actively engaged sponsor. And you need, this is kind of the nonprofit background in me coming out right now. You need to live and breathe that sponsorship as important as the organization that's asking you for it is.
Right.
But I think sponsorships are a great way to earn exposure, and it's a quick turnaround way. People see you right away, and you're leveraging off of an already stronger brand that has this built-in audience there. So look at your community events, whether they're regional, local. I don't poo-poo local events. Some companies, their audience is local, so don't always think it has to be this big giant exposure rating.
I think that's a great recommendation, right? You can get a lot of impact, and it's also based on your strategy too. What are you looking after, right?
Lisa, we go back to like that editorial, that content calendar. Think of all the amazing content and messaging that comes out of a sponsorship.
Right.
And the imagery and the storytelling that comes from that, and the listening. I love when I have companies that are out there and they're saying, we're going to actually send like the sales team plus some PR people and our interns to sit out at this event for the day. Yeah, it's hot and it's on a Saturday or whatever, but there's a lot of power in being able to talk face to face to who your consumer is versus behind the screen or with, data and analytics. Obviously we need that. Yeah. But there's power in these face to face conversations with consumers as well. And events are a key place to do that.
Yep. So, it's important for businesses to stay up on the latest emerging trends. So what are you seeing with PR and marketing that businesses should stay focused in on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an AI supporter.
Right.
Probably because, I come from the land of when social media platforms were just launching, and, we moved from this organic PR approach to the standard press release to, oh, you're also managing this online community and messaging them now, communications and PR people. There were no social media positions. PR and communications was handling it. So with that said, I'm going to take a lot of ownership for kind of PR helping set best practices for, how we used social media and evolved it into this marketing and PR tool. The same will be said for AI. I think, there's a lot of folks in our industry that are kind of scared of AI and like, I'm not. I think we have a huge opportunity right now to figure out how to use it in the best way, the most ethical way. And efficiencies, our budgets keep getting smaller, marketing and comms does. But how can we prove that, we're being really smart and savvy with figuring out how to get that data?
Right.
Another big trend I'm seeing, we've kind of, the last few years went with this big TikTok move of like, everyone wants to be an influencer, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's cool now. We're starting to see like these micro influencers, like these people that are not necessarily these big brands or these well-known names, or, back in my day, it was like, everyone had a publicist. If you wanted them to influence your product for you, you had to go through this huge thing. You don't necessarily need to do that anymore, but you need to do the research. Go find some micro influencers or your stakeholders. Who are those people that could really live and breathe and show who you are? because they're a consumer of what it is you're offering, whether it's data, a product, a service. So leverage those opportunities. I think with AI and, everyone really kind of owning their own information channel, that's a trend that's not going to go away.
Right.
Make
Right.
sure you lean in on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I completely agree with you on the AI. Especially in marketing and PR, the sooner you get more comfortable with it, the better you're going to be as a company, because
Right.
it's not going away. And um, uh, the more you can utilize it to your advantage, it doesn't mean it's got to overtake everything that you can do. It's
Right.
it's an assistant. It is a guide. It is a support.
One other thing I'm thinking about too when it comes to trends, I'm thinking about we're being invited more to the table. PR is, and
Yeah.
I think it's because we have a little bit more stronger legs. They're not so much sea legs anymore in this world of what is PR. And I'm, when we see groups integrating more amongst marketing and public affairs, whoever, our sales friends that are always working with marketing are becoming really strong advocates for PR. And they're saying, I've even had it happen to me where at the last minute, a sales partner will say, hey, this meeting's happening next Tuesday. I told them, like, I don't see PR's name on the invite. You guys need to be there. I think that's a trend
Right.
that is picking up, and we need to do a really good job as PR folks to make sure we're making it a point to be present at those as well.
And vice versa. Marketing needs to do the same, right? It needs to
Right.
be a true partnership.
Right. So let's keep that trend going, because
Yes.
we have
Yes.
much better outcomes when we're involved from the start versus the end.
I think it's always helpful to have examples of best in class out there, of people doing it really well, of this integrated PR and marketing approach. Can you share some?
Yeah, I was glad when we had a little pre-discussion about this, because, probably it's a little more personal to me too, because, I'm a female. It pulled at my heartstrings, and, I'm always looking, for, the latest and greatest best examples of PR. But I also have a preteen daughter, and I think of the Dove Real Beauty
Oh,
campaign.
yes. I love that one.
I mean, how many of us were watching some of those? I've got goosebumps, actually. It was so cheesy. Like, this is the PR dork in me. Like, they just executed that Real Beauty campaign so well. You
Yep.
didn't feel like you were being sold something. You felt like you wanted to be part of that. I'm beautiful, and I'm going to be empowered to create my own beauty standards.
Yep.
And they used real people, and they used it for goodwill. And I think that's a piece of PR that gets poo-pooed on. We had this reputation maybe a few decades ago of being these spinsters. We aren't that, really. I think the best PR people are out there wanting to make change, wanting to create goodwill. And that Dove Real Beauty campaign, even today, they've had different series of it since. But man, just go on their YouTube channel and just watch some of that.
Right.
You don't feel like you're watching a commercial, right?
It's a movement. It is definitely a movement.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The other one I think about, I love Todd Kaplan at PepsiCo. I think he's an amazing marketer. I love following him on LinkedIn too. He just seems like such a great advisor and real person and human, which probably speaks to a lot of the way he practices marketing. But I think Pepsi does a good job too of incorporating a lot of who the people are that drink Pepsi. Who they are, what they look like, what they're doing. So I always enjoy watching, Pepsi campaigns too.
Yeah. Oh, those are some good examples. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I always love to end the marketing table talk with some actionable advice that people can take, especially for an integrated PR and marketing strategies that make an impact. So any actionable tips that you can provide for folks that they can start implementing today?
Yes, absolutely. And I've said it a few times. I'm going to say it again, Lisa.
Hit it many times. We gotta
sit at that damn planning table together.
Yes.
Of course you're going to be out on your own and you're going to have separate individualized roles and responsibilities. Absolutely. Where does that get thrown in the bucket and mashed up and looks like this beautiful cookie ball, if you will? One's chocolate chip, one's the flour and sugar. Comes together, you have to start working together. You just have to. And that the easiest way to do that is talking about your vision, talking about developing shared goals together. Not all of them. Maybe it's going to be 20% the first year. I don't know. That's only going to foster kind of this. You talked about it earlier and kind of amplified what I had mentioned about communication. It's going to build that culture of collaboration internally. And we know the better we're communicating with each other, the stronger, more impactful, lasting outcomes we create. We should be doing that internally as well. A really easy one I think of too that I don't ever want to become a project manager for clients, but sometimes we just have to because there is no project management. And no one wants to do project management, right? No one wants to hang out in like ClickUp or Basecamp or anything all day long. Slack, like no one wants to do that. However, there has to be some type of project management to help support that communications collaboration. So if you don't have that, invest in it. It will be worth it. And have a Marcom folder, your own thread. It's just for the Marcoms folks. Like I said earlier, we hate to hear on either side, we hate to hear about something at the end. Like be part of it from the beginning. And so setting up those project management tools, making sure you're sitting at the table together to create unified goals, and be the model, right? Be the model for your organization of what they hired you to do was to communicate and reach people. Do that inside as well. Amplify that.
Oh, I love that. So everybody, these are easy things you can start implementing today. And I love the first one is just be the role model. Be the role model. If it's not happening in your culture, do it. Step up and lead by example. The first one. And then as you lead by example, reach across the aisle and start talking about shared goals, shared vision, and working together, planning meetings together. Oh, love that. And project management tools and Marcom folders. Those are things that we could all start implementing today. I love that. So
I will say, Lisa, I know our time is short and I don't want to cut you off, but sometimes there's a roadblock for us getting that. And it starts with leadership and management support. So if you're a leader on this call, maybe you're a VP of marketing and you've got a VP of communications, you two better be chatting because your team is going to follow that. Okay. Yeah. So if there needs to be some reorganization that, needs to happen before these easy things come in place, do it, make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Lindsay, you have given us some invaluable insights and some great action tips. Thank you so much. For our audience today, Lindsay is, as you can tell, a PR expert, and you need to reach out to her, make a connection, have a discussion with her. I have put her contact information in the chat, so please reach out to her today. Have that discussion with her. And thank you all for joining us today for this lively discussion. And I hope that you come back for another Marketing Table Talk. And with that, have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you, Lindsay, again, for being an amazing guest.
Yes.
Everybody.
I'm so glad. And thanks to everyone else for joining.
Yes. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you.